Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, in continuing the discussions that I was having with random people in regards to the mu'tamad of the Shafi'i madhab and how it was structured, how it came to be, what is it all about at the end of the day, there's this crazy understanding that Nawawi was too weak, he had his own personal opinions, therefore we shouldn't be relying on him, we should be relying on a Rafai. Now I kind of ended the discussion by simply saying, well, how many masail did you review between the books of Nawawi and the Rafai? And the person had not reviewed any of them. So in other words, he has no examples to prove his point and his claim that he's making. Keeps on adding Ibn Hazm and Ibn Qudama to the mix, which they have nothing to do with it. If we're speaking about the Shafi'i madhab, we're not speaking about Fiqh Muqaran. So evidently, their whole argument, those that are calling to push Nawawi aside and only focus on a Rafi'i, it falls back to on nothing. They literally have nothing. Kalam Jamil. They've never compared the Masail in a Rafi'i's book versus in Nawawi's books. Jamil. Now, one of the reasons that they're doing this is Imam Rafai didn't explicitly point out any creedal opinions. He did, it's just not found that much in his fiqh works. It's more in his other works, like his explanation of Musnad al-Imam al-Shafi'i. But in his primary fiqh works, he doesn't. But in Nawawi does, and it's evident that he is an Ash'ari. Not only that, and Nawawi also focuses on the heart, focuses on tasawwuf. So they have the same issue with the Nawawi that they have with Imam al-Haramain. And this is why you'll see some of them sometimes say, oh well, we should just focus on al-Muhadhab and forget about al-Rawda. The reason for this is that they believe the lie that was said to them that Abu Ishaq al-Shirazi was not Ash'ari. So what they're doing is that they're going through the books and trying to find that which would support their claim. And they're not going through the masail, they're going through historical arguments and debates. You know, they hold firmly to Ibn Rafai, not because they've ever read anything Ibn Rafai has ever written. No, not because of that at all. But because Ibn Taymiyyah said, I saw Shafi'i fiqh dripping from Ibn Rafai's beard. They took that and they held on to it. So if you come and tell them, but no, he's a great Imam, they'll come and say, well, look at what Isnawi did. Because Isnawi criticized Nawawi and Rafai a lot. Now you're going to respond and say, well, he did the same thing with the Rafai. Then they're going to come and say, oh, not so much. You're going to come and say, well, the Masail that Nawawi mentioned were a lot more than the Masail that Rafai mentioned. They kind of just stumble. They don't know how to respond to that because they have never compared it. I mean, Nawawi added so many more details that a Rafi'i skipped out or didn't come across in his works, that they literally nicknamed the additions of a Nawawi as Zawaid. And when you're reading the Shuruhat and they're quoting Imam Nawawi's additions, they say as Zawaid, and you start assuming there must be some sort of book called as Zawaid. Editors have actually made that mistake where one of the commentators, they'll come and say, as Nawawi said in his Zawaid, and they'll write on the bottom, obviously Nawawi has a book called Zawaid, but we have not found it. There's no separate book called Zawaid. It's the additional information that Nawawi added. Now, of course, Nawawi didn't make up these additional points, but rather they existed in the books of our fellow Shafi'i scholars, Ashabuna, right? So, and Nawawi brings them in and adds them in so he can complete Rafi'i's work for you. But they don't understand this. They don't know this because they've never compared one mas'ala to the masail that are يعني al-majmu' versus al-aziz, right? They have not done this. So they're holding on to these general concepts, and they'll come and say, no, we just want it to be like Ibn Qudama and al-majmu'. No, he didn't. It has nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, it's 10 times better than al-Mughni by Ibn Qudama. They're going to say no. Why are they going to say no? Because they've never compared it. Then where did they get this claim from? Because As-Suyuti in his Fatawa, he said, al-Majmu' is similar to al-Mughni by Ibn Qudama. They said, see what? It's similar. Okay, yeah, it's similar. Meaning, mentions the mas'ala, then mentions the khilaf afterwards. But that's not all it does. It focuses essentially on the internal Shafi'i ikhtilaf. They'll come and say, but Imam Nawawi has his own opinions, his own ikhtiyarat, and they are outside the madhab. No, they're not. They were never outside the madhab. Yes, they are also opinions in other schools, but they're not outside the madhab. They still exist within the madhab as like an old opinion of Imam Shafi'i al-Qadim, or a wajh that might have not been accepted, and so on. If we take the issue of making wudu after eating camel meat, Imam Nawawi, he prefers that opinion. People come and say, but that's the opinion of the Hanabila. No, it's not. Well, I mean, it is, but it's not. Because Imam Nawawi also has the fact that Imam Shafi'i said it in the Qadim. So it's not outside the madhab as if it is completely foreign to the madhab. No, it exists in the madhab, but more of like a weaker opinion within the madhab. Jameel. So they'll come and say, no, but the Shafi'i scholar said it's qawi in its based upon the adilla, but it's weak according to the madhab. So he's just following dalil, he's not following the madhab. That's not what they mean. They mean that ظاهر الدليل, from your first glance at some of the evidences, those opinions sound okay. But as you collect all of the evidence and study it, you realize that no, it's not. Kalam Jameel. That's all they mean by it. Not that he left the madhab and went and followed the dalil based upon his own opinion. No. Every single one of his ikhtiyarat have a basis within the madhab. It might not be the mu'tamad, but it has a basis. Who else did this? Every single Shafi'i scholar that ever existed. Every single one. There's a set of opinions. He analyzes the opinions. He looks at the dalil. He looks at the ta'leel. He looks at the arguments. He looks at what a Shafi'i said, what the earlier one said. Double checks, make sure there's no confusion. And then he concludes with what he believes is the most accurate opinion that the Shafi'iyya as a whole follow. That's what every Shafi'i does. Now, the fact that those that came after said, well, wait a minute, this opinion that you're picking, ya Shaykh, it's not 100% accurate. That's not what the majority of scholars and the strength of the dalil, that's not what they are. Rafai does this, and Nawawi corrects him, and Nawawi did this, and the Nudhar corrected him. The Shurrah of Al-Minhaj and other works, they came back and they said, well, wait a minute, we agree with some of the objections, but these objections, we need to object to them. They're not correct. And that's how they go, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So Nawawi criticized the Rafi'i on some of his choices, right, that he labeled as the stronger opinions, right? And then the Nudhar, like Al-Isnawi, Ibn Rafai, Al-Adrai came and said, no, these opinions that you're making, those are the ones that are not correct. What Rafai said was correct, or neither of you are correct, but this is the correct one. And then those that came after reviewed the Nudhar's works and said, well, wait a minute, what you're saying doesn't add up. What Nawawi said is correct, or what Nawawi said is wrong, or what Rafai says is correct, so on and so forth. That's what all the scholars do. In other words, all of them have ikhtiyarat. Now, we would only call them ikhtiyarat if the final concluded opinion within the madhab differed from that choice, then at that point we can call it ikhtiyar. It's that scholar's choice. From what he was able to see, from what he was able to view. Kalam Jameel. Whether it was his opinion, he has strong evidence, or it was weak, etc. I mean, every mas'ala is going to be different. But to come and claim that we should just wipe out an Nawawi altogether and focus on a Rafi'i, that's not going to work, because you're going to miss out on a lot of furu', a lot of details, a lot of masail that Imam Rafai didn't get to mention for whatever reason. Okay. If you skip out on all that, they say, well, we can rely on Al-Imrani's Al-Bayan. Again, Al-Imrani missed out on a lot of things. Missed out on a lot. And a lot of times, he doesn't even mention who said what, when, and where. Again, Nawawi focused on who said what, when, and where. That right there is a gold mine. Not to mention that a large percentage of our earlier works within the school, we don't have anymore. We lost them for whatever reason. Invasions, wars, burned down, etc. So, the fact that we have such an encyclopedia gathered in Imam Nawawi's works, I mean, that's perfect. That's a gold mine right there. So therefore, these claims are ridiculous. And if you hear anyone make these sort of claims, you simply tell them, show me examples. Give me the masail, so that way we can review these masail and be able to formulate an actual sound opinion and understanding of where you're coming from. If they can't, and they never will, because what they're claiming is not accurate, then know that you have won the argument and their nonsense is garbage, basically. I don't want to use it, but it's just obvious. And again, all of this is happening because you have people fleeing a movement that is collapsing, so they're trying to find a new home, and they're using the Shafi'iyya, or they're hoping that the Shafi'i madhab will be their new home. But we will not allow this nonsense. Alhamdulillah.